Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to the Odds Breakers, playing the odds NASCAR style, an oval experience. I am your host, Paul Napier, and you can connect with me on Twitter at NASCAR Style Odds. This episode is being sponsored by 5dimes.eu. For a reduced juice bonus, please visit theoddsbreakers.com/5dimes and click on the banner to get better lines than the average sports books. This week, we have a fantastic show for you with info you need to know before making picks. This is episode 9 of the Oval Experience. Each week, we will go into last week's race, track facts, maybe some history, trends, and what to look for before placing bets. What a wild final stage at Kansas. The race was pretty standard the first two stages. Long green flag run, and then all hell broke loose. With about 40 to go, and that's where I'm going to pick things up, the 2 car of Keselowski went a lap down. And this plays into a lot on our pick of Keselowski over Larson, but also the Championship 8 that was settled on Sunday. Now let's move forward with 20 to go. Here's how things panned out with my picks. Elliott was in 8th, Harvick was in 10th, and I picked Elliott. That was a plus money pick. Amarola in 26th, and Suarez was in 14th. I had Amarola. Not looking good, and I believe at that time he was 4 laps down. Keselowski, 19th, and a lap down, while Larson was top 5ing it in 5th. Big picture here. Elliott trailed Keselowski by 3 for the final spot in a round of 8. Now remember, this is 20 laps to go. Inside of 20, we're on a long green flag run when the 12 gets into the wall, cuts down a tire, and brings out the caution. Lots of talk goes on about should Brad Keselowski pit or stay out and take the wave around. And it all was really based on what the cars that were down a lap were going to do in front of him. Everybody stayed out, so he had to do the same thing. So he stays out and takes a wave around. So with about 10 to go, I think I'm going to go 1 and 2, but with the plus money win on Elliott. So then with 7 to go, Larson gets jacked up on the front stretch and makes an amazing save. Damn, I had hope. There for about 2 seconds, I thought he was going to get wrecked. With 4 to go, we got a caution. While Bubba sang, "You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel." Overtime and a restart. They get off clean and they're coming to the white, and the 8, the 22, and 41 wreck. Now this had huge implications at one point because all of a sudden the 22 gets spun out and they go into the pits, and I remember looking up at the running score of where they ran, and the 22 was only plus, I think it was plus 4 to the good, and so yeah, this got kind of a little bit dicey. But with that wreck, Suarez's day was finished, and with that, Amarola was able to come around and beat Suarez. The second overtime restart was all clean, and Hamlin takes the checkers, followed by NASCAR Baby Jesus, that's right, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, and Lord William Byron comes home in 5th. So my picks panned out as follows. Elliott 2nd over Harvick's 9th, plus money. Double A over Suarez, 23rd to 32nd. And Keselowski and Larson was closer than that 20 to go. While Larson finished 14th, Keselowski stayed right there at 19th. So close to a clean sweep. But overall, I was up 20 units. That was a great Sunday afternoon. Hey, just a little side note here. I don't know if you noticed this, but Jimmy Johnson finished a quiet 10th. Remember, I had a small highlight on him during last week's show. So overall, I felt pretty good about Kansas. So let's move on to Martinsville. Martinsville Speedway, nicknamed the Paperclip, is a 0.526 mile oval-shaped track that never disappoints the masses with action-packed racing. It is the oldest operating track on the NASCAR circuit. What makes racing here so good? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a short track with tight turns, with a big giant curb keeping cars in the track and sometimes into other drivers. It's 500 laps of beating and banging where a lot of times the one who checks up is not the one who wrecks, but it's that third or fourth car in line that gets used up. So who's hot at the paperclip? Well, I like to look at the playoff drivers, as I have been, showcasing them. And I'm going to key in on 4 or 5 maybe. First one up is the obvious Kyle Busch. In his last 5 races, he has an average finish of 2.4. That's unreal, with a low finish in those 5 races of 4. 1 win and 4, of course, he has 5 top 5s. Up next is Martin Truex Jr. with a 6.6 place finish in his last 5. No wins. Should have got one last year, with 3 top 5s and a low finish of 16. Next, we have the closer, Kevin Harvick, 9.2 in his last 5. No wins, 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. However, he does have a low of 20th. Yeah, 20th. And finally, we'll look at Chase Elliott, who has an average of 9.6 with very similar looking stats as Harvick. Should have had a win there a couple years ago with he in the battle of Denny Hamlin, where Denny Hamlin actually, I believe he said he meant to do it. He meant to take Chase Elliott out. And I think since that race, if you remember back to that race, and I believe it was 2017, short track love has really come back after that. You had cars that were just totally used up. And, you know, the excitement of, I remember it was Ryan Blaney versus Kevin Harvick, and this Denny Hamlin versus Chase Elliott. And that just kind of started to get things moving in a direction of, it was like this renaissance of, we want to bring back short track racing, and we want to go back to South Boston and Myrtle Beach and everything. Wow, got sidetracked there. So Chase Elliott, strong as well. Another guy to kind of look at, and I'm not exactly sure where his head's going to be and how much resources he's going to get this week, but it's Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski has, in his last 5, he has 2 wins and 4 top 5s and a low of 10th place finish. That's pretty strong. However, him getting knocked out of the playoffs, I'm not sure as to how this is going to play, because I think the other Penske drivers in Logano and Blaney are going to be getting a lot of the resources, but still the guy is he's a racer. And so he's worth a look as well. Finally, another guy to look at who's outside of the playoffs is Clint Bowyer, who was eliminated last week. In his last 5 races, he has an average finish of 7.8 with a win, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and his low is of 21st. So he might be in that second tier group to look at. And, you know, I think with Keselowski and Bowyer especially, let's see where they qualify and practice. And maybe on Saturday we go back and look at 5 dimes to see if there aren't any plays for those guys. Now, most of the championship 8 are pretty stout at the paperclip. But here's a couple guys to look at who, on the flip side, are just absolute junk, basically. I mean, that's the only way I can really put it. And these guys have really struggled at Martinsville. So the first guy I want to highlight, or I don't know if that's maybe low light, is Eric Jones. In his last 5, he has a 22.2 place finish. He has 2 top 20 finishes. Not good. He has a high finish of 12 and a low of 30. Up next, another guy to stay away from is William Byron. He has 3 races there at the paperclip. He has a high of 20th and a low of 39. And another guy, and this is a guy that kind of scares me a little bit, who is in the playoffs still. However, he is in my championship 4 drivers. It's Kyle Larson. I want to see the guy make it there. Plus, I have a I have a small future wage on him to win the Cup. He has a 25th place average at the paperclip. He has, let's see here, a high of 16 and a low of 37th in 5 races. Side note, another guy that's not good is Kurt Busch that's there. Used to be really good back in the day. However, in his last 5, he's 17.6, and he's a teammate of Kyle Larson. So taking those things into consideration, I'm a little bit afraid of anything with Kyle Larson just based on the fact that he has struggled here. So he really has to make it up at Texas and Phoenix. So I really want to see the guy get to Miami and see if, him running that high line, there's just something there. I think it could be kind of special. So let's move on to this week's free pick. This week's free pick, I'm going to look at Kyle Larson at minus 140 versus Jimmy Johnson at plus 110. I just laid out exactly why I would pick against Kyle Larson. And you cannot tell me that there is a better driver at Martinsville than Jimmy Johnson over his career. Even though in his last 5 he is sitting at a 15.6 that's his average of his last 5. Let's see here, a high of 12, a low of 24. So he's been right in that, mid-teens range while he's been at the paperclip. The guy also has 9 career wins at this track. So, he knows how to get around this place. I think even with the reduced horsepower in that, he still knows how to get around this place. Better run last week. And so let's just see what happens. I'm going to roll with plus money JJ here and take him in a small 7.5 unit wager this week. All right. So just before the round of 8 gets started, I want to pick my championship 4. And really, I don't think I ever shared this with anybody here on Playing the Odds NASCAR style, but my championship 4 has not changed really since the playoffs have started. And so here's my 4. I'm taking the 4 of Harvick. I'm taking Larson in the 42. And then I've got 2 Toyota drivers of the 11 of Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex in the 19. Want more info and free picks for this week's race? Visit theoddsbreakers.com and click on the link for this week's race. If you like what you heard, shoot me a message on Twitter at NASCAR Style Odds. Hey, even if you don't like it, let me know what I can improve on. Constructive feedback is welcome. Thank you for subscribing, downloading, and listening to Playing the Odds NASCAR Style. Until next week, keep researching, keep winning, and have fun.